Hi, guys. Welcome back to Guy Set, a guy's guide to what should be talked about. Today, I want to talk to you about job interviews and how to conduct yourself in job interviews. Because I have had the opportunity to be on the other side of a few job interviews recently within the past year at my company and for this program that I did my sophomore year of college that I've gotten the chance to interview kids for, or not kids, but like college kids for. And I've gotten to do like 10 of those interviews recently. And it made me realize that this is the type of episode that I would have loved to hear before while in college, but like also now. Like, I think this type of episode and this type of content about like how to conduct yourself in job interviews is so beneficial. And I don't think there's a lot of things like that are talking about how to act in job interviews, especially for like this time, considering that most job interviews aren't conducted by like going into an office building and clicking the 150th floor and like walking up and straightening your tie and being like, hello, like I'm here to see Mr. Blah. And like, you're not walking into some high rise building in New York City anymore for a job interview. You're most likely going from your bathroom after you just took a shit and walking to your desk, turning on your Zoom and being like, hi, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you. Like that's the reality of most job interviews now. And that's just like how it is. That's what the new world is after COVID, and just like it's just easier to do job interviews that way or do anything that way. So I think like most things have turned out to be that. And I think like there is an etiquette to that we don't really talk about, that isn't really talked about, that I've noticed it needs to be. And like I would love to hear this type of thing, and I think it's important to share this. So if you know somebody going through the job interview process, or they're about to, or they're recently out of a job, or they're recently looking for a new job, or if that's you, but like if you know somebody like that, share this with a friend, send it to them, because I think this will be really helpful for anybody. And I'm going to try and structure this episode with like my advice in terms of like what to do and what not to do for job interviews. And I'm going to miss some things. I'm definitely have more to say in this after I do it. And I know that like some more things are going to come up in the next coming months because I'm going to be in this process myself too. And I think being on the other side that I'm currently on right now, and then being on the side like of the interviewer and the interviewee, like they're two completely separate sides. And I think I have a unique perspective right now that I want to share. And then hopefully in the coming months, I'll have another perspective to share about it too. But share this with a friend, or share this with anybody that's in that process right now or about to embark on that process, because I think they'll really appreciate it. And I think I have some things that will be helpful, or some advice to share that I think will like contribute to your interview process, hopefully. So I'm really excited about this one because I don't think it's talked a lot about I don't think people talk enough about how to act in interviews. And this is kind of like how to prep yourself for an interview, but also like a little bit of like a pep talk for interviews too. It'll have all of this in here. And so let's get into it. I'm not gonna hold you any longer. I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. I just wanted to share with you like what I've learned from interviewing people so far and this process, and like what I think have been some highlights and some lowlights, and just like the things I think will bring you to the next round of interview versus the things that might make somebody think twice about moving you forward. Because at the end of the day, we're competing against so many people who are just like us. And most likely interviewers or hiring teams or whoever your HR teams, whoever you're interviewing with or for, is interviewing so many different people that like you kind of get pushed into that pool of people, and it's hard to stand out, and it's hard to be unique and like distinct. And I think I'm going to tell you some things in here that will help you do that and help you determine your distinct qualities or narratives, or you will then figure them out based on what I say here. because we don't even think about that part of it either. Like, we don't think about the fact that we're supposed to stand out. We just think about, like, how do I answer this question? Then this, then this, then this. And, like, how do I get through this thing? Like, how do I get on here for 30 minutes, try and look good, try and be impressive, and then, like, hope to hear back? Like, I think there are things within the interview, within the 30 minutes, that you can do to make yourself stand out, to make yourself, like, yeah, stand out from the crowd is the right term. And I'm going to categorize these things as turn-offs and turn-ons, because I think that's more fun than, like, highlights and lowlights, or things that make you better and things that don't, or the things that get you farther than things that won't. So turn-offs and turn-ons. And I'm going to talk about, like, a ton of different things that I've seen, that I've done myself, that, like, I think we can all take into our next interview, into the next process that we do. And I believe the interview... Oh, wait, just one more thing. Sorry. I know I said I would start a little bit ago. One more caveat to all of this is that, like, I feel like the interview process happens when you're never ready for it. Like, I feel like this always happens when you're least prepared or you least expect it. That, like... Because at the end of the day, it's really hard to prepare. It's really hard to, like, get yourself ready for this mode, or this, like, fuck, now I have to do 10 interviews. Hopefully that will lead to 2 that get me to the next round, or 3 that get me to the next round. And then I have to do more interviews for that person and more interviews for that team. And it's hard to remember that, like, you just really have to be yourself, because that version of you is going to shine so much brighter than the version that you think you're supposed to be in an interview. Like, the version where you are acting like yourself and you're answering questions like a real human being, and you're bringing your personality to the forefront instead of what you think they want you to say or they want to hear. Like, I just did one recently where this kid answered a question and he was like, I love that thing. And he, like, talked about it like that. And I could tell he was super passionate about this one thing. And that felt like so much more personality than the first couple questions when he answered it. And he was like, yeah, so this, and this, and this. And, like, I could tell that was a prepared answer. I could tell that he was going back through his head of the couple things that he wanted to say. Like, he had his 3 to 5 bullet points that he wanted to get across in this interview. And to me, the part that was so much better and the part that I remembered more was when I got him to something else that he really, like, talked about because he was passionate about it, and not because he thought I wanted to hear that thing, if that makes sense. Like, he was really very honest and, like, real and personable about this one thing, and the other stuff was, like, the bullet points on his resume that he thought he had to hit, because that's what we're taught. Like, we're taught that you have to hit these couple things, and like they want to hear about your most recent experience and this thing and this thing and this thing, and show the progress and show the upward motion and the upward movement, which is true, like, which they definitely do want to see. But I think you will stand out more from the pack when you bring in your personality and you bring in your real self to the interview. And the interview starts before you know it, because, as I said, most interviews are now on Zoom or on Google Meet, and that's harder, but also easier, because you have more of an opportunity to, like, prepare and not be as nervous, because interviews are always nerve-wracking. Like, you are going to be nervous going into this thing no matter what. Meeting somebody new, having to present yourself, you want to get your points out, you want to be presentable, you want to be professional, you want to stand out, like, all of these things. That's going to make you anxious and nervous leading up the night before, going into it, all of the things. And that's understandable. And I think every interviewer understands that too, that, like, this is a nerve-wracking scenario that you have to go in. But I personally think it is so much easier to interview online than in person. Although, like, I would rather be in person, because they can get to know me more. And what I'm saying by, like, the interview starts before you even know it, you have an opportunity to bring yourself to the interview before it starts. So, like, when they turn on the camera, and I'm talking specifically about job interviews on Zoom or online right now, when you turn on the camera, the interview starts. So whenever they get to the Zoom room or the Google Meet room, whatever the fuck you want to call it, whatever virtual room you prefer or that they prefer, and you're there, like the interview has started. So if you're slouched over, or if you're like looking at something on your computer or your resume and you're clicking out or you're clicking through and you're like, oh, 1 second, sorry, like let me just close this out and all this, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and you're like, you're typing, like the interview has started. Like you are already trying to present yourself in the best way. So don't do any of that. So don't be clicking out of windows. Don't be having your resume up on the side of the interview. Like maybe even make the interview the entire screen to get rid of all the distractions. Click the do not disturb button on your computer. Like take these 30 minutes and let everything else go, because now you're in a conversation, and that's what you want this to be. You want this to be a conversation. You want it to almost be like you're talking to a boss or a mentor or a professor or somebody that you want to be presentable in front of, but you can also bring your human self to. Like, it's not the extent of talking to a friend, because you're not going to be like, oh, fuck, shit, fuck. Like, you're not going to like let curse words fly, and you're not going to be like a total dumbass, as some of us would as I would be to my friends. Like, it's a different level of like chill, and it doesn't matter because this is my friend. I can say whatever I want, and like it's okay because we've developed that type of relationship. Like, you don't know this person, so you definitely want to be an elevated level of that, but you also want to bring some of that too, and not the elements where I'm like saying you're cursing and like saying all this shit. Like the elements where you can tell that this person is fun and personable and a good person to be around, because a lot of jobs want you also as yourself. Like they want to see who you'll be in an office, or who you'll be around your coworkers, and how you'll act with people, and how you'll communicate, and how you'll talk to people. And they know that you're not going to say like, Sally, like, I think that you might have made a mistake on this one thing, and I think you could blah, 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 blah. Like, they know you're going to be like, hey, Sally, like, this thing is messed up, and, like, I would appreciate if you could fix this, or, like, let me know what you need me to do to help you. Like, they want to see that side where your guard is a little bit down. And I guess I shouldn't be saying, like, they as, like, a royal they, because I don't know every single interviewer, but this is my advice. This is what I think would be beneficial and would help us all. Like, I also had my friend Reed on, my old roommate Reed on. He's been on twice. He's one of the only 2 guests has been on twice. And we did a whole episode about moving out together, but I also sat down with him and asked him about his interview process, because he interviewed for he applied to 50 companies and interviewed for a ton of them. And he wasn't getting past the first round, and he'd be fine if I said this. Actually, let me just text him and make sure he's okay if I said this. No, he's been on here before. I think he doesn't. He said it himself. So there was a couple interviews that he didn't get past the first round and I sat with him, and he was like, I can't get past the first round. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, why is this not working? And I was like, all right, let's role play the interview. Let's see, let me be the interviewer and you be you. And let me ask you the questions. And I asked him a couple questions, and he had the answers so prepared to a precise, the breath was the same, the intonation was the exact same. He had everything so rigid and so prepared and so robotic that it felt like there was no human element to it. Like, he was so over prepared that he totally lost the personal side to it. And I think there is a balance that a lot of us need to learn how to strike, myself included. I think it's really hard. And looking back at my previous interview process, there's definitely been some where I just get red in the face and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. There are definitely those moments, but there are also some where I feel like I've learned more and I've gotten more into my groove. And when you're thrust into this new process, anytime, you're going to have those couple where you have to figure it out again and you have to get back into your groove. But he was in this time in his interviews where he was so robotic and so rigid that his advice, he came on here and said, he's like, I actually spoke to an interview coach, and they had the exact same advice. And when he told me, he was like, yeah, they said I was robotic. And I was like, that is what I said. And you could have paid me the $100 that you paid this person to tell you that. I told you that without the coach. And he was like, yeah, I know, but coming from that person, it's way different. And I was like, no, that's very fair. I get it. I totally get it. And the person basically told him, you need to be more human. You need to bring that more personable side to your interviews that I'm seeing when we're in conversation, but when I'm asking you the questions, you completely lose. It completely goes away because you have these structured answers. You have what you think they want you to say in your head, so you're saying that. And I think so many of us have an idea of what the interviewer or what the company wants you to say, and the answer they have that like formulaically fits into the mold that they want for the job and blah. Like, that's not the case. I really think they want to see who you are, and they want to get to know you, and they want to see if you would be the right fit for the company and the role, and have the abilities and have the strengths, and can like fight the weaknesses that you have, and grow and all that shit. And that all starts from the beginning. Like, if you're looking around the room and you're like fidgeting with your shirt and you're like looking up and down and you're looking around and you can't make eye contact, like, those are all things that I think factor into, whether they say it or not, factor into an interview. So if you're sitting upright and you're getting to an interview and you're like, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Like, thanks for taking the time." Something like that as like an introduction to like, "Hi, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you." Something really simple, easy, like something that feels normal. It's almost like you're shaking somebody's hand. Like, that should be how you start. I also think I want to just quickly say, like, I think a white button down or a blue button down, I don't think you have to wear a tie, and I don't think you have to wear a blazer. Like, if you want to, please feel free. Like, you should be comfortable, but you should be professional. Like, obviously you're not wearing a t-shirt. I don't think a sweater. Like, I really think you should wear a button down for an interview. It's like, what would you wear if you had to walk up to the 150th floor of the New York City skyscraper and walk in and say, "Hi, I'm Josh. I'm here to meet with Mr. Chow." Like, what would you say to that? How would you be dressed for that? I think that's what you should wear on the Zoom. So if that's a tie, that's a tie. Like, whatever, like, look good, feel good. I think that matters here. Just a quick side note, brush your hair, like, just look professional. I also think background matters. So if you're, I really am not a fan of like the blurred Zoom backgrounds. It's like over your head. So like almost like if you ever showed your phone to the camera, like it would be blurred out. Like, I don't like the blurred background look. I think we could all do a little bit better than that. I think you could just find an area of your apartment or your home or wherever you are, or your school. And if it's like a white wall, that's totally fine. If it's if there's like a piece of art, that's fine. Just make it presentable. Just the overarching note there is just like, be presentable. Just find a spot where like you can show what's behind you. So like, obviously not your toilet, not your bed, like just an area of your room that looks clean and looks like you'd be okay with bringing that interviewer to that spot. Yeah, I just want to like double click on that. Double click. Who am I? Like some corporate speak. I think like the interview, as I said, starts from when you enter the room. The ending and the beginning matter just as much as the context, I think. Like, if you're ending it by being like, "Thank you so much. Like, I would love to hear what the next steps are, and like, I really appreciate your time." That all matters too. Like, it's all how you're conducting yourself in the room, how you introduce yourself, how you enter a room, and how you exit a room. All of that matters. And those are the pieces or the moments that we don't think about a lot of the time, or we're not taught to think about, or no one reminds us to think about. So all of that, I think, is really important. I also think that you should definitely send a follow-up email to the interviewer. Like, this should be practice. This should be something that you do every single time you have an interview. Send them, let's call him Ben. "Hi, Ben. Like, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciated hearing about the way your team works on this project, and I really look forward to hearing the next steps of this process. Thank you again, and best, Josh." Like, it's as simple as that. Obviously, you're going to fill in that, like, your team in the process, like the X, like, "Hi, Ben, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciated hearing about blank X." Like, you're going to fill that in with something from the interview. So remember something that happened. Don't fully black out. Like, remember one thing or one moment, something he said, something that she said, something that whoever the interviewer is, whatever they said, remember just like one moment that stuck out to you and point that out in the email. That is a good practice to get into. Like, out of the people that I interviewed, I only got like 2 follow-up emails. And I think that should be customary. I think it makes you stand out from the pack. And I think that should be something that you remember to do. Like if you leave without anything else that I hear, if you leave hearing nothing else I said today, have it be that. There's a couple things. I think some things I said in here are valuables, but like really bring that with you to your interview process wherever you go. The next thing is, and I have a lot. All right, this is going to be long. The next thing is I don't have the interviewer ask you follow-up questions. So make sure that your answer is completely fleshed out or flushed out. I don't know what that expression is. Make sure that the interviewer like doesn't have to be like, and why was that? Or, and what did that lead to? And, or like, and how did that change? Like, how did you change your process moving forward from there? Or what did you learn about that experience? Like, make sure your answer has that in it. So like, here's a good example. Like I worked on this project that initially, like if, let's say the question is, what did you, give me an example of a time where you maybe failed or messed up and like what you learned from that experience. You don't want them to have to then be like, and what did you learn from that? Or like, how did that lead you to change in the future? Like you want to be able to be like, I messed up this thing and I learned this and this from that experience. And then when I got the opportunity to do that again, I was able to apply the learning from that experience and change it by doing this. Like you don't want them to have to follow up. So you want them to be able to go to the next question feeling like you answered it fully. And that's something that I think we can all work on. Like even in meetings in work, like having somebody have to ask a follow-up question, I think makes you feel a little less professional or a little less prepared. So this is something that I think takes practice, takes time, takes learning, but try your best to, when you answer the question, answer it fully, thoughtfully, and clearly. Don't be long-winded in your answer. Like that is a big turnoff. If you are going on and on and on, and we've gotten to the point where it is a 4-minute answer to a question, and they're like, ugh, like, and you're like, I just said so much. I know I just word vomited it onto you, and you're covered in puke. And what's your next question? Like, don't continue on and drone on and on. If you feel like you're getting to that place, wrap it up. Like wrap that shit up. Make sure that you're not going on and on. And I know I just said 2 things that can seem contradictory. Like I said one thing, like make sure you answer the question fully and clearly and also say it concisely. Like those things are at odds sometimes. Like that is a battle. Having an answer that is fully thought through and fully thoughtful and also concise and not 4 minutes long is hard. And those 2 things are at odds. But get better at that. Like that is something that we can all work on and like straight up just work on that thing. Work on having an answer that you are clear in and you've said everything you want to say that is not 4 or 5 minutes. Like nothing should be that long, and you should never have to feel like you're like, oh, I just said so much and I'm exhausted from what I just said because I know I just said so much, and they're going to be like, okay, what are your 3 weaknesses and what are your 3 strengths? And you're like, okay, here we go again. Let me talk for another 15 minutes. And now I need water. Like my throat is, I have no, like, when you're doing that. We all know when we're doing that, and we have all done it. So work on that is another piece of advice. Another thing that I think is a turn off, and I know I said I would organize this as like turn-ons and turn-offs, and I just only used turn off for the first time 25 minutes in. Make sure you're not like overconfident. Like don't state that you're confident all the time. Like don't bring that energy into the interview where you are like, I am confident that I will succeed in this role. Like I know for a fact that I am confident, I am good, I am like strong, I am like, there is a way to balance overconfidence that there's a way to balance confidence. Like confidence can also lead into like arrogance or pompousness that like it gets to be a little bit too much at times. And there's a middle ground to confidence. There's a middle ground to it where you can speak clearly and prove that you are good at what you do without having to state that you are good at what you do. So have that confidence come through in explaining your experience or explaining your job or explaining a project you worked on. Like that will prove confidence more than you saying it and more than you like making sure the interviewer knows that you are confident and knows that you are good. I think that can be a turnoff. Do not read off of your notes. Like, do not click over to your resume and be like, let me talk about this thing. I mean, like, if somebody asks you a question, like, walk me through your most recent experience or explain to me how you were beneficial to the company in your most recent experience. Don't click over to your resume or be like reading off of your notes. They know. Like, it is so obvious when someone's reading off of their notes, especially if you're wearing glasses. Like, that shit shines. Like, you can see the reflection, but that's neither here nor there. But like, do not read off of your notes. Don't have your resume up. I wouldn't even have like a couple notes. Like, you are prepared going into this, and I know you're going to prepare going into this, and that is the best you can do. And you're going to have your couple, like, I don't know, maybe you can have a little sticky note of a couple things that you want to discuss on, like with 3 separate words of like, you want to hit on this, this, and this, and that's totally fine. Like, but don't be being like, oh, let me go over to this experience. Okay, so what I did in this one is this. Like, that is a rudimentary thing that should be clearly a big fucking X factor. Like, do not read off your resume. A couple turn-ons, because I've only said things not to do. So let me make this more positive and go to the positive side of things that I think are really good and things that I've seen people do. Speaking slowly, as I just speak a mile a fucking minute. That's why I laughed. Speaking slowly with confidence behind what you are saying, I think is such a turn on in an interview that now it sounds a little weird. Maybe I shouldn't have said turn offs and turn ons, but whatever, here we are. I think speaking slowly is a huge sign of confidence and a huge sign that you know exactly what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. When you speak like that versus when you're like, well, at the last company, thank you. Like, speak slowly because you know what you want to say, and that makes it sound like you actually know what you're saying versus you're trying to come up with a ton of different things in your head and you're trying to just like get to the next question. The next one is saying, that's a really good question. Can I take a second to think about that? Wow. Like, whoa, that is a turn on. When someone says, can I think about that for a second? Like, can I take a second? Like, sorry about that. However way you want to phrase it, I think the first way I said it, and now I'm just rephrasing it just to like, I don't know why. I think the first way of saying, that's a really great question. Can I take a second to think about that? That is not a bad thing at all. In fact, it is so much better to do that than be like, well, that's a really good question. And I think because of this and this and this and like, oh wait, actually, can I take that back? And can I actually answer that a different way? Like, if you take a second, gather your thoughts, get together what you want to say, like your brain is going to go in a couple different directions. And you're like, I could go down this avenue or this avenue or this avenue. But instead, if you're like, let me take a second and think about that. And you're like, okay, I think that, and you pick the middle ground because you think that's the best way to answer this question. Like, that is so much more solid than being like, actually, can I rephrase that? Or can I take that back and just take a second, take a beat. Again, this is a nervous environment. This is an inherently anxious environment to have to be in. And the interviewer understands that. Saying, can I take a second to think about that is a massive turn on. And I think most interviewers will be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, totally take your time. And then I think another huge turn on is is having 2 to 3 questions at the end. When they say, do you have any questions for me? And the person's like, no, but thank you so much. Like, I really, no, what do you mean no? Come up with something. Like, have at least 2 questions to ask them. I think the best thing to say is following up on something they asked or asking something they maybe said in the interview, or asking about their experience or how they've found success in the role, or what they've learned at the job, or what you should know about the job that would lead you to find success. Like, anything like that, I think is a really good, strong question. Like, if you're like, what should I know about the company or the team or the role that would lead me to find the most success in this role? Whoa. I just thought of that on the spot. Like that's fucking awesome. That would be like I think I would put you through, or someone would put you through for just asking that question. Or be like, what would be helpful for me to know going into this role potentially? Or how have you found success in this role? Or can you please tell me about a recent project that you worked on and how was it successful? Or can you share a recent project that you're really excited about? Or can you share an upcoming project, if it's not private or secret, that you could tell me about and that you're excited about? Like any of that you're talking about, the thing that the person is actually working on, I think is a huge turn on, is a great question to ask. Like those questions will get you really far. And I think that's what I'm saying by like, the beginning and the end of the interview are just as important as the stuff you say in the middle. Like if you come swinging with a couple like fucking home run questions, that leaves the person with a really good impression of you, because they're going to remember how you leave just as well as how you started or how you flustered in the middle. Like it all doesn't matter at the end, as long as you feel confident and you look confident and you're acting confident and you ask good questions and you say good things, which is much easier said than done. And I thought that as I was saying that, but have 2 or 3 questions like that will leave a really good impression and leave a really good mark on the interviewer. Another good one is like, and just a good thing to say at the end is just like, is there anything else I should know about this process? Or like, what are the next steps in this process? I think that's always really good to say. Those couple things, and you're totally like at will to pick your own questions, but definitely come with a couple things. And I think that will make the interviewer and the interview feel better too. Like when it feels more like a conversation and not an interview, like when you're at the point where you can even ask a follow-up, by the way. Like you can do what you want with this time. Like if you ask them about their experience and you're genuinely interested, which they can tell, by the way, like if you're really genuinely interested in what they just said or their answer to the question, feel free to ask a follow-up to that question. You don't have to be like, can I ask one more question about that? Just ask it. Like, have it be a conversation. If they have to go, if the time's running long, they'll tell you. People are pretty like rigid about that. And if it's getting to a point where they're like, I have to go, they won't answer the question, but let them do that. Like you're not overstepping. You're not doing any of that by asking a follow-up. So if they tell you about a experience they had or a project they're working on or something they're excited about, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, how does that relate to like your team's like overall goal, or like how would my role potentially like help in that project, or what could I do to help in that project, this new role you're hiring for? Like, whoa, that's a great way to follow up. That's a real conversation, and you feel like a coworker and not this like foreign object that they're like you're just floating in space. Like you feel like somebody you're having a real conversation with. Like that's professional. That's cool. So bring that energy to it, and don't be afraid to ask follow-ups, or like even throughout the interview, don't be afraid to ask questions back and have this be a conversation. I think that makes you feel like you're miles ahead than other candidates and makes you stand out too. A couple other things I want to leave you with. I said a lot about don't be so rigid, and I want to make sure that point is really hit. Like, do what you can to get out of the headspace or mindset that like this experience is tied to that question, and they are going to ask me about the strengths and the weaknesses and have 3 exact things for that. And I want to hit this, and this, and this. Like, if you keep it conversational, if you are not so robotic, it will go over better. If you're not like, I have to say this, I want to make sure they hear this. Like, I think if they hear this, they're going to really like that. Don't get your like underwear in a twist with all of the things that you have to do and all the things you have to say. Like, you don't have to do any of that. Just be yourself, be professional, be engaged, be genuine. Start to learn to think on your feet. Like, there are going to be moments in the interview where you are caught off guard, where they ask you a question that you do not have the answer to and you were not prepared for, because you cannot prepare for everything they're going to say. And they're going to throw a couple like wrenches your way, and they're going to throw some things that you are not expected to answer, or the things you're like, well, I didn't know they were going to ask me that. Like, yeah, of course, it's an interview. They can ask you whatever the fuck they want, but like, be prepared to think on your feet and get better at that. Like, get better at being like more in like a flow state and make it a conversation. And if that comes up, you're more than welcome to be like, that's a really good question. Can I think about that? And answer it in any way, shape, or form that relates to it. But like, if you don't know the answer to that question, like that's okay too. And it'll come across that you don't know in the interview, but like, don't think that that question and that like missed answer means you're out of a job and means you didn't get it and means you're not. Like, there is still so much time left in the interview. You still came in great and you had a couple great things to say in the beginning, and you still have to finish strong. Like, don't let that throw you off so much. Like, don't let that one question. And we always tend to think about like the way, like the bad thing. We always tend to we leave the interview or we leave an experience being like, oh fuck, like that one moment or that minute like made the whole night worse. And like that we all tend to like, I'm going to take a breath because we tend to pick up on the one moment that was bad and like amplify that in our heads. If there's one moment, one question, one thing that you aren't sure about and you come across as unsure, that's probably 2 minutes in a 30-minute interview. The 28 other minutes still have the potential to be great, and maybe they were great, but we leave with those 2 minutes being like, fuck, like I couldn't answer that question well enough, and like, ugh, like that does not define the whole interview, so don't let it in your head. You may not be that confident about the job or every single thing in the job description and like, well, I just did this job and like, I don't know if everything I learned at this job is going to apply to that job, and I don't know how I'm going to do all of this, and it's going to be a big learning, and I'm nervous about it, and I don't know how the new dynamic's going to work, and like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, all of those doubts, all of those worries are all so normal, and I think every person has them. We just don't say them out loud. Like, we just keep them in our heads, unfortunately. But like, I really think everybody has those same doubts and concerns about every new experience. In the interview, now is not the time to show that. Like, just have confidence in yourself at least a little bit, or fake it until you make it, and get excited about the possibility or the potential of this role. Like, if that means you have to jump up and down and put on your favorite hype song before the interview because like that'll get you in a more like flowy mood, that'll get you more excited. Like, I do that before some podcasts sometimes where I'll put on like a song that I really like and just like dance it out, like jump up and down. That is great. Like, get that out. It's scientifically proven by someone. I choked. It is scientifically proven by something or someone to actually make us less nervous. I had on a public speaking coach a while ago. Her name was Megan Grano, and she like talked about the science behind getting it out, dancing it out, doing some push-ups, like doing something before the interview to get yourself less nervous and less anxious. And that will help you, I think, find that confidence again, because you're going to be nervous going into it, but you are in the room. It's most likely a virtual room, but you are in the room and you got there for a reason. So make sure that you believe that too, and don't let all those doubts and those worries and those concerns creep in. Like, make the most of the room that you got yourself into. You will stand out so much more if they can tell that you believe what you're actually saying. And I'm not saying to lie about your experiences and your abilities, but like, I am saying this is your time to sound like you know what you're talking about. This is your time to at least be confident in what you've learned and in your experiences and what you can bring to the table and what you can bring to the team. Have questions for them, send a follow-up, and be confident. Like, there are things you can do to set yourself up better. This is your time to show them who you are, and that starts from right when you enter the room, and it ends when you leave the room. It ends after you send the follow-up email. Like, all of that time is your time to make an impression or leave a mark on this person. And I guarantee you can do it. Like, I really do believe, even throw on this episode before your next interview. Listen, like, have me in your ear giving you this kind of pep talk of like the do's and don'ts, the turn-ons and turn-offs, like the things that I think you should watch out for and the things I think you should do. But overall, like, what you should do is be confident in who you are and in your abilities and in your experiences. The rest of it, you know what not to do, and don't do the things that you know not to do. Like, don't try and sneak in I don't even have to go into all of it. Like, I just did for 42 minutes, so I don't have to continue going into it. But like, I really think that these environments are really stressful, and it's so easy to get in your head about it. And if you come off as somebody that's in your head, that's like nervous and anxious, and like all of that can set you back so much more than the things you can do to like set yourself forward. Sit up straight, be excited about the opportunity and the potential, and give it your all. Like, leave your mark, leave your stamp on the table, and make sure that they know who you are and what you can bring. And I guarantee you're going to have a really good interview, and just be solid in all of that. That is the episode. Thank you. I'm as somebody that's gotten to be on the other side of it, I think it's a really unique perspective and opportunity I've even had to see how it is and be able to even draw these critiques and these criticisms, because that is a side that like we don't really get to see a lot. And it's like a side we don't like hear talked about a lot either. And like, that's not to say that I don't get on there and make the same mistakes, or I don't get on there and flub a question and then end up thinking about that question that I flubbed for the rest of the day. Like, I am no better than anything I just said on here, and I've made all of these mistakes before. But I have learned a lot from the interviews I've done, the interviews I've gotten to conduct, and what I've seen and the experiences I've had. And if you learn from what you've done and the mistakes you've made, like, that's kind of all you can ask for. And I just wanted to add that in. It's like, I'm not to say that I'm like, I know better and I don't make these mistakes. Like, I could get on an interview next week and still make the exact same mistake, or I could get on an interview. Like, I haven't even like prepared for a job interview in the past like 3 years, because I've had an opportunity and I had another opportunity, and like, that's amazing and exciting. And I haven't like sat down to prepare for a job interview in a little while now, but I know how to have a conversation, and I know the things I'm good at, and I know that the experiences I have, and I can apply what I've done to any question asked of me. And I think that's the best thing that you can do to prepare yourself and get better at any of this. Like, don't go through ChatGPT's like top 10 questions that they're going to ask you on a job interview. Maybe do if you haven't done this at all to start. Like, maybe that's actually a good thing to do. Maybe that's good advice. But like, don't kill yourself trying to get every answer to every question and get them all down on paper and know that you're going to say all this and all that. And like, don't stress yourself out so much. Just be conversational, be personable, and be genuine. And I think that will get you so much further than the other side. That is the episode. Thank you so much for listening to Guy Set, a guy's guide to what should be talked about. I'm Josh. I'm 25 years old, and I'm here every single week, every single Tuesday, to talk about what should be talked about for guys in their 20s and beyond and younger. It's not just 20s. It's everybody. It's like, it's anybody. You're all welcome. Everybody's welcome. If you have anything about that should be talked to guys in their 20s and everybody else beyond, send it to my, if you have anything about that should be talked about for guys in their 20s and everybody else beyond and below, go to my website, guyset.com, GUYSET.com, and there is an Ask Me Anything right there. It goes right to my email. It can be anonymous. You can ask me whatever you want, and I will be sure to talk about it. You can also find this entire episode on YouTube, as well as every other episode. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I think Pandora, and like all these other random places that I'm on, which is really, really cool. I love Pandora. Shout out. I'm not shitting on them. And you'll find new blog posts every single week on guyset.com on all the things that should be talked about for guys in their 20s: lifestyle, dating, career, relationships, style, perspective, confidence, advice. Everything is on there. I'm really excited about what I'm building on there. It's kind of like an extension to this, and just even more advice and even more guides. And I'm just thrilled about the whole kind of universe that I'm building for Guy Set, and I hope you are too. And I think you'll find a lot more resources there. You can find me on social media at Guy Set Podcast, at The Guy Set, across every platform. Thank you so much for listening to Guy Set, a guy's guide to what should be talked about, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. See you guys.